This is a call to action for our brother Leonard Peltier. You know, he's been incarcerated 47 years for a crime he did not commit. The government knows it, and it's up to us to give a loud enough call to get the president's attention to release Leonard Peltier with executive clemency or a compassionate release or even COVID-19 release. And that's what we're going for. Leonard's not asking for a pardon. He says he has nothing to be pardoned about. And he didn't do the shooting. He didn't do that killing. So that's why we're here, is to challenge the government. So before we start, I want to invite Bruce, Elijah to come up from the great Mohawk Nation we have here. We have a lot of Indian nations here. We are intertribal. We got the great Lakota, we got the great Lakota Nation here. People who stood up to the government, and Custer died for their sins. Custer died for their sins. So I want to introduce Bruce here for prayer and opening. So if you got a hat, Keith, everybody hats off, please. Thank you. Even my bandana for this. And no cameras, no video, please.
Each and every one of us, we can look to and how we can make changes. And it's events like this, to be heard and to hear how we still continue that. And so in the prayers, we hope that this will reach him and understand that there are people out here that are still saying the prayers that needs to be said. So be in our minds. Thank you.
You know, it's always an honor to see Bruce. He just was walking up here and I said, oh, he came all the way from Canada to say the prayer for us. So, yeah, we're blessed that he's here. And you know, he has served his people for many years, and it's always an honor to see him. Welcome to your Barrios Unidos. This is called a spot. You're in the right spot, all right? So, you know, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna play the drum. We're gonna sing. We're gonna do everything, and Leonard's gonna hear us, okay? Because everybody knows that we're here to bring our brother home. You know, he's been too long. You know, we here at Barrios Unidos, we hold Leonard as one of our heroes, one of the folks that has always kept us, you know, straight. You know, Leonard never went anywhere. He's always been true, and so we need to follow his footsteps, but we need to bring him home. And I want to invite, you know, all the those of you young people and older people and in between people, you can always come here. You know, we have a silk screen business. They're doing business right now. The young people, we employ young people. We have tiny houses in the back. We have a retreat center up in the mountains with our sweat lodges, and his name Pastor Floyd Westerman. You know, so you can always come there too. Tiny, you know, tree houses, and, you know, it's really nice. So I can have maybe 5, 6 people can come up here and start serving. Those elders that don't have a table, please give them a table where they can sit and eat, you know. So appreciate the young people, and that's how you start. You start to give. You know, you give by serving others. You know, and there's a lot of people in this room that have been serving people for a long time. You know, I want to give a shout out to my brother right here, Tony Gonzales. You know, I got to tell you this story. Tony, we're from the same neighborhood out in Fresno, and I always wanted, you know, to follow his footsteps. He had just come back from Vietnam, and then I went to Vietnam, and I've been following him ever since. And I always used to tell him, send me on the mission, you know, somewhere, you know, out of country, you know, peace work. So he tells me, hey, Nane, pack your bags, you're going on the mission. I said, where am I going? He says, you're going to Libya. Anyway, Tony, I love you, man.
Oh, thank you.
Tony.
Thank you, Nane. Unforgettable Nane. All my relatives. to carry the message and the voice for Leonard Peltier. I'd like to introduce Miguel Molina. I want to thank KPFA Radio, Flashpoints, and the KPFA crew, Sara Blanco, Falcon Molina, Frank Sterling, and the callers that came in, but Miguel Molina, the co-executive director for Flashpoints, he will be helping do the MC. Thank you very much. Well, I'm glad to see Gloria Galivan is here from Answer Coalition, and of course Gene Roach and Carol Gokee from the Leonard Peltier office.
Actually say Orale. I just want to take a few minutes here to thank everybody, todos que vinieron hoy día, everybody that made the time to come here today. It is a national holiday celebrating Juneteenth, a day that finally was recognized nationally by order of President Lincoln to call for the freedom of slaves, African Americans in this country. So today, for a minute, we celebrate that time, the freedom of African Americans in this country, but their fight for justice, equality, and the right to vote still continues today. That said, I just want to thank Nane Alejandres Barrios Unidos for asking your free speech radio station, KPFA, Pacifica Network, to be here today. With that, I want to just, there's going to be a lot of activity here, but I want to thank Gene and Carol from the Leonard Peltier Defense Committee for being here. At some point, you all take a visit to the table, take information, and make donations, because a unbelievable injustice just happened this past week when they released John Hinckley, who attempted to murder the U.S. President of the United States, Ronald Reagan, shot him 3 times, and shot the Attorney General, James Brady, in the head. This past Thursday, he was released unconditionally to go home, kick it in the porch, watch the sunset, have barbecues, sit down and have a glass of lemonade. And while Leonard is still in prison, so double standard of justice continues today. And as Mr. Bill Means, one of the founders of the American Indian movement, stated, the Indian wars never ended. They're still here today. If you look at the prison system, whether in California or throughout the country, per capita, there are more Native Americans and indigenous peoples in prison, particularly here in California, than any other place in the Union. So again, I want to thank you all for taking this time. Preach the word. If you released someone that attempted to murder the U.S. President, why is Leonard Peltier still in prison? Why is Mumia still in prison? Those are the things we need to ask. I'm going to take a little time to introduce a comrade of mine. I was introduced to her by Tony Gonzales from AIM West and the International Indian Treaty Council. We met about 40 years ago, and she has been relentless in trying to win the freedom of Leonard Peltier. I'm going to introduce her now. She is from the Action Coalition based out of San Francisco, and that is Gloria Galivan. Please give a hand to Gloria, one of the most vocal women in this country.
Thank you, Miguel. Thank you, Tony. Tony, who has kept the flame going for AIM West and for Leonard Peltier. Leonard Peltier is not only innocent of a crime, he's innocent of something that never happened. There was no represents for all those young men and the teenagers who were there, including Gene, to defend the elders on Pine Ridge, and to tell you how much the FBI has hounded him to keep him in prison. It's a political persecution. There's a woman reporter who's writing great articles about Leonard. Her name is Jennifer Bendry, and she writes for Huffington Post. Well, about 2 months ago, she wrote a letter to the parole board of the federal government to say, what is happening with the clemency for Leonard Peltier? And guess who responded to her? Not the parole board, but the FBI. The FBI found a way to find this communication, and they intervened to try to shut her down and tell her, you don't know the facts. But there are a lot of powerful people joining this cause now, this year. And I swear we got to get them out this year by December 31st. And I think it can definitely happen after 47 years. Because we have people like the former prosecutor in the appeals, James Reynolds, who said, we are also responsible. The government is also responsible for what happened on June 25th, 1975, June 26th. He said the FBI was responsible. They were plain clothes. They raided a farm when 64 people had been murdered in the 2 years before. And he's calling on Clinton to give unconditional clemency. And then you have Ringo Starr of the Beatles calls for clemency for Leonard Peltier. That's big. And many other people. But here's another man who just signed on to support Leonard, and that's Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson. Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson was Chief of Staff for Colin Powell when he was Secretary of State under the Bush administration. Colin Powell's Chief of Staff, Colonel Wilkerson, we sent him the book of Leonard's life. We sent him Incident at Oglala. And when I talked to him, he said, I'm all in. And he wrote the most powerful letter to President Biden. So that's why we have a lot of people joining us. And we have a rainbow that must fight for him. Native, Black, White, Asian, Latino, all of us. Everyone counts, young and old. Right? Are we going to see Leonard free this year? I need to hear it. Yes? Okay. I just saw Leonard in June. I saw Leonard less than a month ago. And I went to Coleman. I got to see him for 4 hours. We really restrict the visits, but I saw him for 4 hours. And he really wants always for everyone to know he thanks them from the bottom of his heart. It's stunning to see a man with such principles. He said, you know, I could give up names. He said that to me, and he's told other people, he goes, I could give up names, but I never will, because I'm a warrior who cares about my people, and who cares about truth. So let's all do everything we can. This is a marvelous event, beautiful. Long live Leonard! Freedom!
Again, I want to take a few minutes and thank everybody that's made it here. People are coming in. But the whole idea is there's going to be midterm elections. And Joe in the White House, what are you doing about clemency? If they want the native vote, release Leonard. If you want the indigenous Spanish-speaking vote, release Leonard. And also, in this country, there are over 7,000 children in jails, in cages, on U.S. territory. Release the children. The children are our future. So they want the native vote, release Leonard. Otherwise, the Republicans are in big trouble.
I want to give the honor, Mr. Jim Mason has been not only a radio legend, but he is also a Wounded Knee and has been working for Leonard Peltier for many years. So if we can have our elder Jim Mason say a few words, and just words of wisdom. Mr. Mason.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity. For all of you that are here now, there's only a few of us left. I'm 90 years old, so I've been around for a minute. We go 90. We go back a long ways to be you. Wounded Knee veterans over here, we go back a long way. You get to be 90 years old, you go back a long ways anyway you look. But I appreciate the opportunity to say hello to you. And I also want to invite you to listen to my radio show. I'm on the air in Stanford on Tuesdays from 10 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. The program is called Vintage Wine. Yesterday's music today. So you might hear Door, Dead, Airplane, Little Richard, No Telling. Tuesday, thank you.
Mr. Mason is a veteran, great heart, 90 years old. Ain't he look good? He looks good. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jim. Tony, who do we got? All right. You know, the dancers, all the folks, all the vendors, thank you. But, you know, before our next speakers, I want to bring up the folks that feed people every week here. You know, we have a food pantry, and these folks volunteer, you know, every Friday and Saturday, and they go out and get the food. So Jenny, can you bring the rest of the folks that Talia, just recognize Trudy, Sergio, Elijah, and everyone. Talia, are you here? Come on up, Jenny. Can you come up here? You know, stand right there. Stand right here in front. You know, people, if you come out here on Fridays and Saturdays, you'll see a line of folks that come to get food. And it takes a lot of work. And these folks is only half of the folks that come out and give. You know, Mercedes, Josh, everybody that's available, they feed people. Over 300 people every weekend, you know. So let's give them a big hand, and they all do it on a volunteer basis. Give them a big hand. All right. Thank you for the work. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Mr. Mason. All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the food, brothers. Food not bombs. I'd like to introduce you now. You know, we've prayed, we've danced, we ate solid, good food, and now the guest speakers that we invited you, they've been on a West Coast tour, crossing from town to town, from Washington State through Oregon, hitting every little town that they can, and having events like this. And we bring to you now Gene Roach. Gene Roach was 15 years old in 1975 when the shootout occurred in South Dakota. which is why Leonard Peltier is in prison now. Gene Roach was one of those at the Jumping Bull compound in South Dakota at that time, June 26, 1975. When June 26 comes around in a couple days, I want you, if you have some sage, take time to say a prayer for men and women that stand up to defend our rights and our cultural freedom, our spiritual freedom. So Gene Roach and Carol Gokee, Gene, please. Let's give them a welcome.
Thanks everybody, and I'd like to thank everybody that worked on this event. It's beautiful. And it feels really good when I see a lot of people that are supporting Leonard Peltier. One thing that we're doing is we're debunking the myths, okay? Along with colonization came the stories and the stereotypes that are attached to my people. I'm from the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe. I'm a mini Koja Lakota. One of the things that we've lived with our whole lives is the 1973 Unity takeover, and which coincides from a few years before that, the 1890 Unity massacre. And that's when, like, for a lot of us, that's when it started. Our political prisoners started back then. We have Sitting Bull, we have Crazy Horse that were in prison during that time. We have many people down the road for different reasons, but the main reason that they're being imprisoned is because of our beliefs. So we have Leonard Peltier that's been in there for 47 years. I can't even imagine that. And it's not right that we have the double standards. We have, the FBI has targeted our people anytime we stand up. In 1890, they attacked our people for praying, the ghost dance religion, and dancing. In 1973, they attacked our people for going back to spirituality. They used automatic weapons and APCs that were back to the goon squads and the tribal government that then supported anything that was so-called progressive. So the traditional people were attacked. You couldn't even go to a sweat lodge on that time. Today things have changed, but not much for Leonard Peltier. He fights today just have a sweat lodge inside the prison in Coleman, Florida. He fights just for his freedom when any other person, like I said, that Hinckley guy was released. Oh my God, he tried to shoot, or he shot the president. Okay? Why is Leonard Peltier still in there when we have so much evidence on that table there? We have a lot of letters from different senators and stuff. It's overwhelming the lies that have started when Leonard Peltier was incarcerated. Immediately when he was in Canada, they brought up a false witness to the Canadian government. And this lady signed 3 affidavits stating she was Leonard Peltier's girlfriend and an eyewitness. And then Leonard goes, well, none of us knew who she was. She didn't even, we didn't even know her, but she was coerced and forced to do these statements. And that's just part of the way the FBI has attacked our people. It continued today, just like Leonard Peltier is still being inside there. They don't quit. We have double standards. Our people go to prison for much longer. And it's like that for all people that are, brown and black and even some of the poor people that are white. They go to prison because we can't afford justice. We can't buy justice. If I go to jail, I can't come up with a $5,000 bond. Neither can a lot of people. We should understand where we're connected here. Leonard Peltier has been in there for a long time under the FBI COINTELPRO program, which attacks different movements. They got the American Indian movement. They targeted the leaders, put them in prisons and jails. Way back, we had the boarding schools that took our children away. Now, today, we're finding all these burial sites with children, innocent children that have been killed by the churches and United States government. And that's becoming a true story, and I've heard it my whole life. Now we have the proof. But we didn't have to prove that because the story's been there. Just like with Leonard. And, you know, when people come and talk about him, you know, like people that don't know who he is, and I'm just like, the FBI is not who you think they are. They're manipulative people that hate if you stand up. Look at Standing Rock, when the water protectors wanted to just pray, unarmed. They were attacked, and then they're like, oh yeah, now I see what you're talking about, because it happened to them. But we've been living this life for over 40-some years. You know, probably, I mean, thousands, you know, since they came. But right now, we just want people to know that Leonard represents changing our lifestyle and taking back and decolonizing our minds, you know. And one thing that they're doing to him, being in there so long, is, you know, they just, they attack him daily, even though we don't understand the attacks. But when you're in prison, you understand the attacks more. Depriving him of certain medical needs, even though he's a 78-year-old elder. How can they hold this man in their, you know, and stand up and try to act like that they represent democracy? They don't. We know the truth. We all know what the truth is. It's time for us to continue and band together and support each other in our movements. There's a lot of things going on in California, and I appreciate all of you being here. If you have any further questions, you know, I'm back at the table. We have copies of all our recent support. We're asking the president to give him executive clemency. We have an application in there, but Carol will tell you a little bit more about her. She's our former co-director. She's now the director of the All Rise for Peltier movement that we're starting. So, thank you.
Bonjour, thank you, and greetings to all of my friends and family and relatives that are here. And this is so beautiful to have all this energy in one room, all the love for Leonard Peltier. Let me tell you who Leonard Peltier is to me. Leonard Peltier is a man, just like every man here. He's no different. Leonard Peltier's never owned more than 2 shirts in his whole life. Never. Because everything that he had, he gave away to others. And he's a victim and a survivor of boarding schools. But he took that energy, he took that resistance with him when he walked this earth. And he walked in a way to help stop government oppression, to help stop assimilation, to help stop the genocide. That's what he did, and that's how he walked. And everywhere he went, he helped. He helped activists working to get land back, to get fishing rights back, Big Mountain. There's just so many things that this man has done, but he was called upon by the elders of Pine Ridge to come and help them when they were dealing with the reign of terror. In the 1970s, our government was absolutely off the chart. Okay? Media couldn't get in. Nobody knew about this. It took 8 years for this book that we have on the table, In the Spirit of Crazy Horse, to come out. It was unbelievable what they did. But Leonard Peltier now, in a prison cell after 47 years, is an accomplished artist. He's an accomplished writer, a poet, and everything that he does, and every piece that we sell goes back into the community for Native Americans. Everything, from youth scholarships to Christmas programs on Pine Ridge when the kids don't have, the families don't have money for Christmas presents. Okay, to feeding the unsheltered. We go around and help the unsheltered with food, with clothing, to keep them warm in any way that we can to help them out. And this is what Leonard does. And because of that, Leonard has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize 7 times. All right? 7 times for prison. For prison. Who does that? But right now, people might say this is a controversial case, but it's not. It's not controversial anymore. We have a letter from the former U.S. prosecuting attorney's office. He supervised Evan Holtman. He was the supervisor when they prosecuted Leonard and they railroaded Leonard. You heard about the falsified ballistic reports, the coerced witness statement. We've got a report like you wouldn't believe of all the constitutional violations that have happened just to get one man in prison, just to save their ass. This was to save the ass of the FBI, so we wouldn't know what they were up to. Well, we know, okay? And this prosecutor has come forward and wrote a letter to the president asking for this is enough, but because they unjustly put him into prison. Unjustly. And they theorized every different direction they could. Everything they could, they theorized. And when one theory didn't work, they picked up another theory. None of it worked. But yet, Leonard sits in a prison today. Even when he was convicted, it was 17 and a half years for each crime. That's 35 years, right? And I don't know if you know the story, but Leonard did escape. When he was in Lompoc, he escaped because he found out a hit was out on his life. And we always tell the story about the farmer not dying, because Leonard came upon a farmer. He was hungry. After 5 days, the farmer tried to take him down, but Leonard overpowered him. Okay? And the first thing the farmer said was, "Are you going to kill me?" Leonard says, "I'm not a murderer. I'm not going to kill you. Give me your boots, because I want your truck. And I don't want you running to the phone." Okay, so he did that. He thought about tying him up. He never thought about killing him, because that's Leonard Peltier respects all life. But he took his boots and he got about a mile down the road and realized that that's not going to work. They're going to find him. So he abandoned the truck and they found him. They found him, but at trial, it came out, and the farmer came up on the stand and said, "He could have killed me. He could have made it to Canada. He could have killed me. He could have tied me up on that field," and he didn't, because that would have possibly killed him with exposure. So they gave him another 7 years. But if you add 37 and a half, or 17 and a half, and 17 and a half is 35, add 7 years to that, that's 42 years. We're at a 47th year. 47 years. So he is a political prisoner. They can't deny that. He is a political prisoner, and in January, this man got COVID. He got COVID because they're not keeping the units clean. They're not wearing masks. This is before booster shots came out. They're feeding him, they're giving him his insulin through his food tray. He has an aortic aneurysm. He had triple bypass surgery on his heart, which cost our government $500,000, by the way. And he has untreated prostate problems. Diabetes. And you know in the prison, you know when you have diabetes, you know what they do? They don't give you a diabetic diet. They take half your food away. So Leonard has lost about 75 pounds now. This is an elder, almost 78 years old, frail to begin with. Not getting medical care after COVID. He never got any medical follow-up. We have no clue where he is medically. And all the clinical reports show us to this day that everything that I mentioned to you, the diabetes, the heart condition, the prostate, all of that acerbates. It comes into fruition a lot faster after you get COVID. So we have to fight harder than we have ever fought for this man. And that's what me and Jean are doing in our group, our delegation. We went to Oklahoma, we went to Turtle Mountain where he's from, we did a prayer gathering. We have their prayers with us. We take them everywhere we go. And when we're done here today, we're going to head back to Oglala, because like Tony said, on the 26th of June, it's going to be the 47th year since the incident. And we're going to release those prayers to Creator and ask that this curse be finally relinquished. That's all we have. That's all we have is our heart, our spirits, and our energy, and the love that we gather from all of you beautiful people. So I want to thank you all for coming, and thank you for listening to my long-winded speech here. And come sign a postcard. If you haven't signed a postcard, come to our table. That's right, sign a postcard. Call the White House. 202-456-1111. I've got it memorized. 202-456-1111. And you can do emails. I do a copy and paste. Copy and paste, copy and paste. I do it all the time. You can send an email every day. But let them know. This matters. When we see petitions and you sign a petition, that petition goes to the White House with, let's say, 1 million signatures. It counts as one. Did you know that? It counts as one. That's how the White House does stuff. But if those 1 million people took and filled out a postcard, it counts as 1 million. So go ahead and sign the petitions, but sign a postcard. Call the White House. Send an email. Let your voice be heard. Thank you very much.
Hello, Carol Gokee, thank you very much. And Jean Roach for your words. And, you know, we should all jam the Casa Blanca right now. Everybody, if you can, call the White House. let me give you the number. At least mark it on your cell phone, your smart machine. But the phone number is 202-456-1111. All right, anybody here's calling the White House right now? Come on, my relatives. This is a call for action. We got to do it. We got, Carol Gokee just mentioned the postcards to the White House. You know what? Everybody get a postcard. We will put a stamp on it for you. Get a postcard over here at the table where Carol Gokee and Gene Roach are, okay? These are some of drawings of Leonard Peltier. Now, this one, well, I thought I had it upside down. But this one is framed and ready to be sold, okay? $50. Someone buys it for 50 bucks, we got a guarantee of $500 on this campaign. This Carol Gokee and Gene Roach last town tour of the West Coast for Leonard Peltier. After this, we're going to get into serious business. After June 26th, that would mark 47 years since the incident occurred in South Dakota. 2 FBI agents were killed, and so was one Indian man. Joe Stunts. Joe Kilbright Stunts, but nobody talks about him. He was shot and killed right there at the same place. So mark your calendar for that day. And here it is, $50. $50. I got $50. It's got Leonard Peltier name on it right here. I hear $50. All right. So let me turn it over to 90 out of 100.
Oh, $50, man, that's like incredible, you know. If there's another one, I'll buy another one. I want to give thanks to, you know, these bases, Leonard Peltier, Aliyah, Mercedes, you know, Marisa. They were here earlier this morning putting these tables together. So let's give them a round of applause. Raise your hands, Aliyah and Mercedes, all right? Because of Leonard, a lot of us have changed our lives. And there's a lot of brothers that have been incarcerated that have changed their lives. You know, and are working to save our young people. As you all know, out of the streets, there's so much happening, so much, there's a lot of violence happening right now. And especially all those rifles that need to get off the street, all that. But there's people that are trying to stop that. And our next singer, performer, activist, Chicano Brothers, spent half of his life in prison, and now he's doing incredible things to save those young people that are choosing that lifestyle. So, can I invite my brother Henry Ortiz, all the way from Sacramento, to come and sing a song for us. All right? It can't be done. We can succeed. All right? Let's give a big welcome, all right? Henry Ortiz.
How we doing? I just want to honor all our elders, all the amazing words that were shared to you today were heartfelt. Thank you for your fight. I myself, I'm fighting with you in this fight as well. Out there in Sacramento, I work with all of us or none. I'm running one of the chapters, as you know, Barrios Unidos being one of those partners of that network, them being our elders, and carrying on the fight to address incarceration across now 30 states. And so, you know, big shout out to Nane, to Dorsey Nunn, you know, Alex Sanchez, the homies Unidos, and all these amazing grassroots leaders, Marilu, and of course, Nane's wife, his daughters, his son, that keeps running the shops, you know, and all the amazing elders and people who've impacted him, because he's been able to bring that spirit and energy to prison, which is where I met him, and he would come every year, sin falla, consistently, right? I would organize events, and him and Marilu and Luis and the whole team would always come, and everybody would resonate because it was a heartfelt, you know, spirit from struggle, from pain, from having 15 family members impacted by incarceration, by this violence. I myself grew up, in the 90s, impacted by the tribal warfare. You know what I'm saying? Violence is an art form for some. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it's a need, and some people don't know how to manage these outlets. We don't have boxing programs, we don't have music, we don't have outlets to, express our rage, the injustices we face of every day just going out these streets. Every time I see a cop and I got all the anxiety, am I going to get locked up and this fool's going to pull me over? Even to this day, if I see a cop's going to get behind me, I right away get that little gas station, I'll get behind his ass instead, right? And and it's that constant anxiety of being kidnapped for all your life as a teenager, and then having family members being kidnapped by CPS. And so that's what we're addressing. We're addressing the systems that are impacting our community through ICE, through deportation, through incarceration, through probation, parole, through schools to prison pipeline, through CPS. And so I spend so much of that time in there fighting for justice that I don't really make time for healing, which is music and dancing. And so seeing the dancers today was beautiful, and I gotta say, man, for a Monday night, you know how to get the ball rolling, man. So big shout out to everybody, Barrios, Unidos, and all our people for showing up.
For those of us that do work in the institutions, when you see a brother that comes out and does this for us, back to the community, it's all worth it. Everybody if you have a relative in prison, you know what I'm talking about, so we gotta welcome them back home. We gotta open our arms and say, you know what, you have familia. So again, thank you, and thank you. Oh, you got a Santa Cruz band now, brother. Oh, my relatives, before we get back into some music, I just want to tell you another second effort that we did to raise money. I knew you could do it. On that second time, we got pretty near $300. So we raised a grand total of $764. $764 for Leonard Peltier. Thank you very much, my relatives. I also want to mention that BU Engineering, we have a recording studio here. So if there's any poets, artists here that needs a studio to record, come in, doesn't cost anything. Talk to Ken or Isaac, and we'll take care of you. Reminder, postcards, send it to Leonard Peltier. All right, fill out your postcards.
Now to liven up and bring energy, the drum is ready, but first we're going to have a blessing. In the Mexica tradition, which is the Chicano indigenous traditions on both sides of the border, the dance is the offering. The dance is the prayer. So right now, before any time passes, I want to introduce the Mexica dancers that are coming here to grace this event today. Teocalli, under the leadership of the chief, Alvaro Talles. Hats off.
American Indian Movement por siempre tener en cuenta la tradición mexica.
And we want to thank Tony Gonzales and the Native American movement for always including our Mexica movement.
También quiero darle las gracias a Galivan, que pues también siempre nos apoya, trae presente su tradición y siempre está con el movimiento.
And thank you to Galivan for being present in the movement and always including us as well.
Y por último también le quiero dar las gracias a Barrios Unidos, dejarles esta medicina en este lugar. En nombre del grupo Teocali le doy las gracias también a Robert, a su esposa Laura, representando al grupo Teocali.
We want to also send this energy and set these prayers down for Barrios Unidos and also for honor our relatives, Robert and Laura Castro from Cali.
Y por último, pues nada más, queremos darle las gracias a todas las primeras naciones de estas tierras por dejarnos compartir esta medicina en su tierra sagrada.
And we also want to thank the First Nations for allowing us to come and share our medicine on your sacred land.
Pues vamos a hacer nuestro rezo como nosotros lo hacemos. Esperemos que se lleven todos esta medicina.
We're going to do our prayer. As we do it, hopefully you'll be able to take this medicine with you.
They will be invited here to speak right now, but we have some special dancers, North American special dancers. I'd like Peggy Lipke, if she would come up and introduce them, if she will. Peggy, are you there, please? And while Peggy is coming up here, everyone here, let's take the responsibility to call La Casa Blanca, okay? Call the White House at 202-456-1111. It's easy, I can even memorize that number. Okay, area code 202-456-1111. Here is Peggy, your dancer.
Hi, thank you, Tony. And also thank everybody for coming out. This is a really nice show. I've supported the Unders in the house for a long, long time. And I really feel in my heart that this is the time. This is the year. And Tony was right, whoever said that. They want the Indian vote, they'll release it. But you have to be careful, because this faction of government that we have going on right now is chipping away at every single one of our freedoms until pretty soon we will not have any. Yes, let's get Leonard out, but think about your vote in the future, not just because they let Leonard out. Think about your vote. Okay, that's all I'm going to say on that. I've got some international dancers that are going to come and do healing dances and fancy dances, and a lot of good feelings and spirit will come of that. But I want to call Daniel Schofield to introduce the dancers and talk about them a little bit.
It's a good day, do some dancing. We're happy to be able to celebrate and be able to be involved with this movement. This movement's been going on for many years, ever since I was born. And like many other things, there's so many different movements going on that we got to try to support all of them. And it's hard, whether we're trying to support Leonard Peltier, we're trying to support the salmon, we're trying to support all the other native fish and wildlife that are extinct or going extinct or being misused by the government. So this is just one of those things, and this is how we celebrate. And we put up our fight, we do it through dance. And in this powwow style of dance that we brought today is just that. We have some war dancers, we have some jingle dress dancers that'll be our medicine women dancing for Mother Earth and dancing for healing for all people. And then we have fancy shawl dancer that's dancing for that good feeling. When you watch her, you'll grab that good feeling, you'll be able to take it back to your homes. So we're gonna go right on into it. We're gonna bring out our fancy shawl dancers. So we're gonna pep this up. And this style of dance, it's one of our newer styles of ladies dance. This is called the women's fancy shawl dance. And this style of dance originated from watching the men. Later on, we're gonna see these two gentlemen with the big muscles on their back, and they're gonna show you the fancy war style of dance. The warriors that would actually go out in the front lines and do the things that a lot of the AIM had to do back in the 70s, 60s. My wife's father, Dr. Wawasik, he was actually one of the founders of AIM, and he was in the first missions, I guess you might say, and they took over a lot of buildings. They took over BIA in Washington, D.C., so we listened to his stories, and for us to listen to that, it seemed almost like a movie, but for them, they actually lived it. They took over the BIA and they stood their ground for what they wanted. And nowadays, we're doing the same thing, but through communications, through Facebook and different things like that, we're able to see those things live. And so, being able to support those as Indian people, that's kind of the main message that I like to give out. Whether it's somebody fighting for their fish, somebody fighting for their land and being able to keep the oil people off, or being able to fight for their hunting rights. They'll post this on Facebook, and it's for us Indian people to be able to support that by sometimes just clicking a like nowadays, or if you're in the area, you can show up to things like this. So we're going to go right into this women's fancy show. Hopefully they got the music clicked up. And when you watch her dance, feel free to clap, feel free to applaud after she gets done. Because it's that feeling the dancer gets back from the feeling she's giving you throughout her dance. So this will be the women's fancy shawl. They're going to get it queued up here. We have myself and my two sons here. We're from Kansas, mainly Kansas, and originally we come from Northern California, which is Redding. And in Redding, we have a lot of little events like this. But back in Kansas, we lived on my wife's reservation, the Potawatomi Reservation. And so there's a lot more natives over there. So these little events, they get quite big, 2,000 to 5,000 people often. So from California to the Midwest, it's quite a bit different with the events, but the feeling is exactly the same. And so we like to be able to dance, I say dance on our own homeland as being California next to the ocean, as much as we can. So Tiny Gonzales, she asked us to come and dance here today. So we just was faster and faster as it went along. And so we're going to slow it down. We're going to bring out our jingle dress, and this is going to be her mom, Tiny Gonzales. And these guys are from the Bay Area. They're Ojibwe. They're from the Great Lakes area. And this style of dance you're about to see is the jingle dress, and this style of dance originated in the Great Lakes. And this originated by a little girl that was sick, and through this dance, that little girl became well, and she was sent to, she had terminally ill disease, and she was really sick, and so her dad went and did a fast for 4 days, and in that 4 days, he had a vision, and in that vision, he dreamt of this dress, and in this dress, it belonged to the Ojibwe people. Throughout time, the Ojibwes allowed all the other tribes to adopt this dress. So it's performed throughout all the other tribes throughout the U.S. now, but it's still held as a medicine style dress. So when you hear that noise, it's the noise of those cones that you'll take in, and maybe you'll feel better, you'll think about something that you haven't thought about for a long time. So as we go, just listen to the rhythm of her dress, and it stays in time with the music, the jingle dress.
Thank you.
Like the rest of these dancers and ourselves, we travel throughout the country in Canada doing these different dances or doing different events all over the world. And Tiny, she's won many specials throughout the United States. $1,000, $2,000, $5,000. There might be up to 30, 40 in jingle dress. Sometimes there's 100 different dancers. So she's won a lot of different competitions doing her style, not copying anybody else and just doing what she feels is right. So as you watch these dancers, that's how we dance. We don't dance to a choreographed style. We dance whatever we feel. And like these events, sometimes you just feel like throwing the event, whether it's big, small, our dances are just the same. We do what we feel. Sometimes it doesn't work out and we have to rethink it and try it again. But that's how our native people are, is we do what we feel is right, we do the best we can. So as you watch these dancers, we're going to bring out our fancy dancers, and in saying that, it's up to these guys to be able to stop when that drum stops and go as fast as that song goes. So the beat's going to pick up quite a bit, and this is going to be often what they call the thoroughbred racehorse of powwows. And that's because it starts off slow and goes faster and faster and faster and takes a lot of endurance, a lot of energy. Sometimes they often say this is Indian aerobics, just because it takes so much stamina, get your heart racing real fast in like a minute. And our songs are so quick and so fast that you have to be ready to go at all times. So these guys are queuing up their song. They're probably trying to cheat and see where it's going to stop or see what moves they're going to do. But they're going to come up with something good. And these two, they have been competing against each other since they were really little. These are brothers, and so like brothers do, whether it's running, playing basketball, tennis, whatever it might be, dancing's just the same. For our people, they often ask, why do you guys compete? Why do you compete for money? Why do you compete for things? That's because Indian people, they've been competing ever since long ago. They've been competing to get up to the top of the mountain, running through the river, see who can catch the most fish. And it was always good things to bring back to their family, whether it's sending messages. The young guys would run, they would compete. And it was all good health to keep your body in shape. So today we use powwow in that same thing, trying to stay in shape, trying to be able to compete against your brothers. And so these two, they got into a big battle a couple weekends ago in Canada, and there was, I think, 25 different guys, and so it kind of was a tournament style, and they had to beat different dancers to go up to the very last one. So I'm a fancy dancer also, and so me and Dasan, our youngest one, he's 16, we had to battle first, so he took me out right away first. And then Daniel went through a number of 4 or 5 different guys, and then Dasan went through 4 or 5 different guys, and then for the champion song, those two had to battle. So they battled like two or three songs, and then they came out with the champion. I won't tell you who won that. You guys can look it up. You guys can just watch them today, and you guys can decide who would have been champion of that. So if they're ready. So these guys are Prayer Down Potawatomi from my wife in Kansas, and then they're Winnemem Wintu from my side, from Redding, California, or Mount Shasta. Mount Shasta is where we have our ceremony. We just came back from a puberty ceremony that we have. That's why we're in the area right now. And so we're going to head back to Kansas, start hitting all the rest of the powwows that happen throughout summer, and then come back for our ceremony that some of you guys might have been to, but it's in the second weekend in August on Mount Shasta at one of our sacred springs. Daniel and Dasan Schofield.
Thank you.
As you notice, that style takes a lot of stamina, a lot of leg strength, and we have a lot of people on the internet are calling these guys fire and water. And in fire and water, these guys actually have two brand new outfits, so it just kind of happened like that. But that fire and water, in our tribe, we had a ceremony that came through a vision recently in the last 7 years, and we started doing different dances that came through a dream. So in Mount Shasta, at our ceremony, we started doing this. We had to do it for 4 years. And in our teachings, I guess, and the visions that came out, we believe that the fire and water are out of balance. And the fire will be out of control like it is now in California. And it's out of balance because the water is getting depleted, and that water can't hold back the fire. And so it could go both ways. But until people start understanding that those have to live in balance, we'll always have a problem with either fire and water. So it just kind of happened that these guys are dancing together, and that's how we do our ceremonial dances. And we have the fire and water dance, and they'll move with each other around the arena and kind of keep each other at bay. So it's kind of neat that these guys are being called that throughout Indian country. And in doing that, we want to bring everybody together, and we're going to have a round dance for whoever felt the power of dance and want to get out here and join us. So everybody here will probably know what a round dance is. So Tiny's going to go and start the music up. These guys will lead and feel free to jump out with them. We invite everybody to come out. Feel free to come on out and doing this. We dance together, we share that strength. The tighter the circle, the greater the bond is. All right, just keep moving to your left. Keep moving to your left. Take big steps. And if that first ring gets closed up, start another ring in the middle. Daniel starts with your ring. That's one. There you go. Somebody jump in with them. 2 rings. All right, anybody else want to come in?
thank Peggy and Nikki for bringing them, inviting them, and also Tatiana, her daughter. They've been outstanding.
We're gonna do a song called Margarita. It's more like a dance party song. You know what I'm saying? So just vibe it out. It's an original I wrote in prison, and I used to jam out also with our prison band. The Nine would also come out there and share space with us. So big shout out to everybody. From whether I've done some wrong, but I'm always right, 'cause I know it's true, and I know it's right. I told you wrong, tell you twice, I'm real discreet. Rich, but I'm riding on the one exotics, I'm about to fly out and go get you some. Put it on me, mama's OG, 100 racks a bag, there's nothing fun. Running the streets, got this game fully shine, what you put it on your mama's son. Learned about the triple cross when I was young, so ain't gotta keep it going. I was to Paris just to get some deals, begging for attention, yeah, I don't see it. See how Bob wishes to see us, me and cash, I never gonna real. I got some industry types, they wanna be. I got some fools in the street, they wanna be. I got rich out, they can't see me, I'm up in that road floor, so really I've done some wrong, but I'm always right, 'cause I know how to shoot. Till you try, I'm real discreet, like a thief in the night. Little like her, I only come out in the nighttime. She don't like drinking Henny, she don't do the tipsy, only drink white wine. Pour from some roof and no grigio. Pull up with the fire, she no big deal. Love makes a bang, rock and gamble. There's a piece of the five makes smoke too. There's a piece of the five makes smoking. There's a piece of the five makes smoking. There's a piece of the five makes smoking. I done some wrong, I'm always right, 'cause I know it's true, and I know it's right. If I told you all, tell you twice, I'm real discreet, like a thief in the night. Rest in peace, Pop Smoke. Give me the champagne, coconut, the champagne. Can I get that champagne? The champagne, the champagne, 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 night. Champagne, champagne. Can I get that champagne? The champagne, champagne, night. Hey, Bob, do you got a second cooler next to your sick Toyota? Can I get champagne coconut? Hey, Bob. the champagne coconut. Thank you very much. the ocean. Middle of the ocean. There is so much running on my life. Playing with my friends, yeah, we playing all night. You know we feeling good, feeling alright. You know we feeling good, yeah, we feeling alright. Middle of the ocean. Yeah, Lord. Oh, I gotta love that shit, Lord. again. I come running back
For my brain, goes right.